Hello everyone. After his wife discovered that he had a child outside, sinnhat returned to his mother's house shortly after having an appendectomy. The tension did not stop when the husband, Hang, a commune police officer, was suspected by his wife's family of secretly changing the medicine while taking care of her. The atmosphere became increasingly heavy, and things only became more complicated when her brother unexpectedly returned. Hang rushed to his wife's house after hearing the news that she had left while still in pain after surgery. As soon as he reached the yard, he saw his mother-in-law standing in front of the door. Just then, his mute wife appeared behind the door, her face pale but her eyes still cold. Hang's voice trembled. "You were wrong. You were too selfish and heartless." She looked at him, tears falling silently. Just then, Sinnhat's brother suddenly returned, walking through the gate with a calm expression as if nothing had happened. Hang seemed to be angry with Ken for something. She bowed to everyone and went to work. When Hang had just left her mother-in-law's house, her brother-in-law ran after her, wondering, "Why are you different today? So cold to me." At first, Hang avoided, "It's nothing." But when asked many times, he had to admit, "I'm not happy to see you hugging my wife." Her brother-in-law gently advised, "I understand your feelings, but my sister needs comfort in difficult times. Don't think too much. The important thing is that you keep the family. Give her time, everything will be fine. If you keep thinking like that, it will only make things more complicated and lose trust. The most important thing is that you know how to keep the family, and as for things outside, you have to give her and you time to overcome them together." After listening, Hang fell silent and thought, seeming to understand something. After seeing Hang off at the gate, Ken quietly returned home. He gently pushed open the door and saw his sister sitting and confiding in her mother, her eyes red. He sat down next to her, his voice soft as if afraid of breaking something fragile. "You know, Nhat is angry with me, because the other day, I hugged you in front of him." Sinnhat did not answer. She just bowed her head, quietly took out a piece of paper and pen, wrote a few short lines, and then gave them to him. The handwriting was shaky and crooked. "I know. I did it on purpose. I hugged him so he could see, so he would be angry." Ken held the paper, his hands clenched, his heart choked. A person who cannot speak also has a way to scream out his pain with the most deliberate silence. After reading, he sighed, his eyes filled with sorrow, his voice warm and gentle. "You don't need to be so stubborn anymore. Don't hurt yourself more. Hang is wrong, everyone can see that clearly. But if he still has a conscience and comes back, then let time tell. As for me, I'm always here by your side." After comforting his mute sister, the older brother remained silent. His mother, a gentle, austere country woman, looked at her son and asked softly, "And you, when will you get married?" "I also hope to have grandchildren to hold before I close my eyes." The older brother was silent for a few seconds, then sighed, "I haven't forgotten my ex-mom." His mother paused, even though she had guessed it. The answer still hurt her. His ex, a girl who had loved him deeply, had eventually left him for someone else, simply because his family was too poor at the time. He continued, his voice low, "She loved me, but she was too poor, so she had to leave. At that time, I thought I was strong, I didn't cry. But 10 years have passed, and every time I hear someone mention her name, my heart still aches." Then he looked up at his mother, forcing a smile. "It's not that I don't want to get married. It's just, no one has ever made me dare to love her again." The mother said nothing. She pressed her lips tightly together, but tears still fell, old tears, silent, not loud, but heavy. She cried for her mute daughter, cried for her son who had been gentle all his life but still had a hard life. She cried for the whole family that had to bear the pain, but no one dared to complain aloud. Trong ccn non, chuko tingjio ngoi vin viting long thun thuk. Kenko gungsai. Chuko ningui tt. Hang ccgdn skntip trong mat quack jijai kengdi dang. Sound phut ling lynyeno. Nguiemu jiang dai. Lao inwi cmt. Ccggn chi rinoi. Tai. Ravin lyale sdn chokain. Ko shiumuin. The three of them slowly walked out behind the house, under the fading afternoon light. No one said anything. only the sound of cassava leaves rustling in the wind and the pungent smell of damp earth after the rain. Mom bent down to break each branch and leaf. He stood by and gathered them into a basket, and I bent down to pick up the fallen leaves. Their shadows stretched out on the ground, trembling in the fading sunlight, but still close together, quiet and warm. Just when things seemed to be settling down, a dark secret began to unfold. Just as the mother and her children had just gone out to the garden to pick cassava leaves to feed the fish, a figure appeared stealthily at the front gate. It was the mother-in-law, who had always appeared gentle, but had a terrifyingly cruel heart. She glanced around the house, her gaze cold and calculating. Making sure no one was around, she quietly pushed the door open and entered, each step light as if she was used to doing this furtive thing. In her hand was a small bag pulled out from her pocket, a thin piece of plastic, tightly tied. Inside were pills that could kill. It was no longer medicine, but something that would make the person taking it more tired, confused day by day, making others mute forever. She found the bottle of pills sitting on the coffee table, next to a cup of still warm tea. Without hesitation, she quickly walked over, her eyes darting around the room once more as if to make sure no one was watching. Her familiar hand opened the bottle, poured all the old pills into her palm, and then from her pocket she pulled out a small bag she had prepared. The new pills, identical in shape and color, were expertly replaced without a single mistake. But inside them was something else entirely, silent, daily wear and tear. She closed the bottle, wiped away her fingerprints with the edge of her handkerchief, and replaced it exactly where she had found it. The whole thing was done silently, as if she had done this more than once. She raised her head and looked around, saw no one, then laughed coldly. "I curse you to never be able to speak. If you want to call for help, no one will listen. If you want to explain, no one will believe. Living in silence is the price you have to pay." With that, she pulled her skirt, turned around and walked out the door, leaving behind a house that seemed peaceful, but was now poisoned by her own hands. None of the three of them knew that, behind them, a storm was quietly approaching. On the way back from the garden, the older brother saw some bamboo shoots next to the bamboo bush, pointed and smiled. "Hey, there are bamboo shoots. Go home and chop them with a knife. Oh, and take your medicine while you're at it, so you don't forget." Sinnhat nodded and walked ahead. He and his mother slowly followed behind, feeling relieved, unaware that disaster was approaching. When she got home, Sinnhat went straight to the kitchen, preparing a glass of water. Without hesitation, she took out the medicine, swallowing each pill silently. Not a word of complaint, not the slightest doubt. A few minutes later, she took a small knife, walked out to the garden and gave it to her brother who was waiting to cut bamboo shoots. Her gait was light, her face was still calm, completely unaware of the disaster that was silently creeping into her body every second. But as she stepped out to the back of the house, she stopped. A sudden burning sensation like fire erupted from her throat. Her hands clutched her neck, her eyes widened. It felt like she was swallowing mouthfuls of acid, hot, suffocating. She tried to cough, but couldn't. Her throat felt like something was squeezing from the inside. Then the pain came, sharp, stabbing, twisting around the still healing wound. Her legs shook, and she staggered into the house, but all the strength was gone from her body. As if the blood were draining away, sweat broke out in drops, running down her temples. The pain was still burning in her throat. Her lower abdomen felt like it was being torn apart, but she did not give up. With the last bit of consciousness left, she struggled to get up, holding her stomach, dragging herself into the house step by step like someone struggling for every second of life. She threw herself onto the familiar bed, not to rest, but to try to survive. Her body trembled as if she had a fever, her lips pale, her eyes darting around. Her body collapsed onto the bed, her eyes wide open, breathing heavily. Time passed. It had been more than 10 minutes since the girl holding the knife returned to take her medicine, under the rustling bamboo canopy. Her mother and brother were still picking and washing bamboo shoots. But then he began to frown. Strange. Why has the girl been gone for so long and not come back? Yet, Mother also raised her head to look towards the porch, her face slightly worried. Without saying another word, the two of them carried the cassava leaves and bamboo shoots and hurried back. An uneasy feeling arose in her heart, as if something very wrong was waiting behind the door that had been closed for too long. Kin just entered the house and was stunned. His sister was lying motionless on the bed, her face pale, drenched in sweat, her eyes wide open in pain. He rushed over, shook her awake, but she was only breathing weakly. He shouted loudly. The mother ran into the house. She was stunned. Her daughter was lying motionless on the bed, drenched in sweat, her face as white as a sheet of paper, her lips purple, her hands clutching her throat. "Oh my God, my child, what happened to you?" The mother's cries rang out, panicked, trembling, filled with fear. She rushed to hug her child, shaking and calling his name. Tears streaming down her face. No one knew what had happened. But the mother's intuition was correct. Her child was in grave danger. The brother quickly found a nearby medicine box, opened it to see, and immediately called the treating doctor to take a picture of the pill for the doctor to see. The other end of the line was silent for a few seconds before replying, "That's not right, that type is not the one I prescribed." He was stunned. Who changed the medicine? And why? After the doctor confirmed the medicine was changed, Mom stared at the packaging, her eyes darkening. But who would be so cruel to do that to him? He hesitated, then looked at his mother. "I'm just afraid, it's Hang." There was a heavy silence. Mother clenched her hands, her eyes filled with doubt. The question hung in the air. If it's not her husband, then who else is here?
Đi đâu bé? Đi tắm về hả? Không gọi đi tắm gì?